Hi, this is Mike at Game From Scratch, and welcome to another completely random look at, the series in which I randomly look at stuff I think's cool but doesn't necessarily fit anywhere else. Today we're going to look at a product called Reflector. Now the big thing here is, in my world, I find myself more and more often in the realm of Android or iOS, even for tooling. There are now products and such that I feel like sharing that are only on my iPad or only on my phone. And that makes it kind of hard to record these PC demos. And this is going to be just as applicable for you as game developers. You're going to want to be able to create nice demos of your game running on a device, but you're going to have to figure out how to do it. And Reflector 2 is definitely one of those options, especially if you're on a PC. But there's also a Mac product. Now, in the Mac world, it's a little easier to mirror your screen to an existing Mac, where you can plug it in directly and run it through a lightning cable out to QuickTime to record. Now, this is certainly not an option on PC, and this is where Reflector comes in. Now, Reflector, as I said earlier, was made by AirScrolls. You can go to www.airscrolls.com, and it's right here. Now, Reflector 2 costs $15. There's a seven-day trial available for it as well. And that's exactly what we're looking at today. Now, I've purchased it. I do enough of this to justify that $15 for me. And in fact, I got it during the Black Friday sale for $10, which would made it even easier to handle. Now, I also use one called XMirage, and I used it up to this point. Unfortunately, they're slow to support iOS 9, so I had to find a new solution, which is where Reflector 2 came in. And now we're about to see it. Now, Reflector 2 is automatically running right here down in the tray. Hell is the name of my computer. And it is essentially now an AirPlay receiver. So I can go over to my iPad, which is off screen, and you're not going to see this part because I'm doing it without you, but I'll just basically swipe up. I'll show you once it's connected, and I select Hell as the AirPlay mirror. So here, I'll show you that process again. So this is my iPad now being recorded. If I swipe up, like so, you just pick the AirPlay receiver here and make sure that mirroring's turned on. And here you can see it. This is my iPad running, mirrored on my PC. So you can see there's a bit of lag, there's a bit of decay going on at times, basically because of the fact of my network more than anything else. I'm running 2 through wireless, and my wireless is being a little bit slow recently. So the quality of your network is going to determine how good the results coming through are. Now the nice thing is, and something sadly I can't demonstrate to you here because I don't know how it's going to play with Camtasia, but I can also record the results out to screen at 60 frames per second. So you can do, instead of mirroring it out, you can straight out record your iPad screen this way. Now the iPad presents a bit of a challenge when you're coming into the PC world because it is a 4:3 device. So you're going to have bars, or it's not going to fit on the screen perfectly. That's one of those things you're going to have to face. There's no simple solution to. PC is a 16:9 world. The iPad is a 4:3 world. They're not going to play great together. Now, one of the neat things is, my iPad is running, and I just physically turned it in my hand, and then you see on the screen, it automatically handles it. I'll flip it back, and we'll see it accordingly. Now, to see if you're going to record some gameplay footage, let's go ahead and actually fire up a game. You'll see it's good, but not great. Now, sound is being mirrored, too, across wireless, and we'll give it a second for this game to load. But you can definitely use something like Reflector for recording. Why are you making me log in, game? You can make it record. I forget what I was saying there. Well, for recording gameplay. So if you do have a device and you need to record the gameplay, you can get some pretty solid results out using this. Now, if you do have access to a Mac, you're going to probably get better results directly to the lightning cable. But if you're Windows only, this is probably your best option available. As you see, the frame rates are pretty good. We'll go ahead, tap to play it. You saw a little bit of a breakup there. Again, that's probably more my network than anything. If you were wired, if my PC was wired on one end, it would probably definitely record better. Now, obviously, you can't wire your networking on your iPad easily. But as you can see, this is definitely good enough for a gameplay video for sure. If you're broadcasting out to YouTube, etc. And speaking of which, I'll stop that now. Let's go on back. So, landscape mode. Now, actually, let's go back to portrait mode. So you can actually broadcast directly out to YouTube. Now, I don't actually know why I would ever want to do this, but it is certainly an option. Now, the neat thing here with Reflector 2 is what I'm about to show you. This is neat with an asterisk. I am on my old phone, and I'm on my old phone because my new phone doesn't work. So that's where the asterisk comes in. But this is my HTC One M7, so slightly older Android phone. And I just connected it using the Chromecast app. And there you go. You're seeing screen mirroring of an Android device. And now this is a much lower resolution device, so you're actually starting to see the pixelation here. Now this is a Retina display. Obviously you're seeing it look pretty good. Now what you can come in and go in is change your settings here, and we can set the default size out to high DPI. Now obviously your screen's going to look a lot smaller, but you're not going to get that weird blurriness from the upsampling that we saw. But the performance is fine. There's a little bit of graphical banding on this mode. Let's go on back to the default display. Now another thing you might have noticed there is we can also change the frame. We can turn it off completely so there's no frame around it, this fake device looking thing. Or we can come back up here and, let's turn that back on, and we can pick which one we're going to show. So it's a graphic effect. Basically, it's just a picture being drawn behind the display. But for video capturing purposes, it's handy to have that there. And that is essentially it. This is Reflector. And as you can see, it is reflecting Android and iOS at the exact same time. It does quite sharp on the Retina display. Good for product demonstrations for sure. You can set here, you can come in also and go to, you can force it into a certain perspective. We can go full screen, which is kind of ironic because it's just the same thing on a black background. We can change the default size. As you saw, we did the high DPS before, so if we come here and go full screen on that, it'll take up as much room as available. So it's upsampling it as best as possible. And if I got rid of this, guys, let me just disconnect here. Oh, I guess I should mention on the Android side of things, this is using Chromecast to make it work. So Chromecast software you download on any Android device which is running Lollipop, I think, so version 5 or higher, but it might even be a little bit lower than that. It might be down to version 4.4. Now the challenge was it did not work on my Galaxy S6. So on my newest phone, for some reason, it just did not play right with the Reflector. Now the reality is, if you go online with the Samsung phones, you'll find they don't play well with Chromecast in the first place. So it's probably a Samsung phone issue more than anything else. But now that we have just a single display, you saw it automatically filled up. So let's go back to the default size, and then, oops. All right, why didn't you work? Let's go back, come on. Change you back to full screen. And you'll see it's doing the best it can. Now this is where your bars will come in, because again, 4:3 device on a 16:10 resolution. So you're not gonna get full screen, but you're get a pretty good, or probably as close as you're going to get on a desktop. Now, if you look at a lot of videos of iPad captures, generally they will black bar it to make it 1080p. So that is definitely one of the issues here. Now, again, you can also have recorded this. If we go back to the AirScroll app, and again, I don't know how this is going to play with my actual recording software, so I'm not going to do it. But you have recording options right here as well. Now, going to the settings very quickly, there's not a whole lot here. Your name, always on top. And that is actually setting here as well, always on top. So even if I've got this image focused in the background, this will always be drawn on top unless I change that setting out. Let's head on back over here. You can have it, let's see, display full screen. You can set the AirPlay resolution, so the resolution of the receiver, show a frame or not. So basically how it's going to connect by default. You can set your recording modes, so record at 1080p at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. How well you want it to record. They have a product called Director as well. It's completely beyond what I'm going to talk about here today. Ditto for Student. But those are different products for different reasons. It allows you multiple connections to manage those connections, to have students connecting in, etc. Completely beyond the scope of what we're talking about here. And you can also turn AirPlay on and off, Google Cast on and off, have it launch at login, or set up your YouTube streaming channel so you can directly stream from your device out to YouTube. So some pretty powerful stuff here, especially for 15 bucks. So if you're looking at recording gameplay or recording software or recording tutorials or whatever off of a iOS device, or even an Android, but the Android, to be honest, there's better solutions out there at this point in time. That's one of those things that's going to come later. But if you need to do both at once, for sure. But if you need to record a screen off your iOS device, especially if you're dealing with a Windows PC, Reflector 2 is a great product. Definitely one you should check out. So it's, again, available from AirParrot. Regular price is $15. That gets you both iOS and Android. There's a Mac version as well. I think those are actually separate purchases. So that's $15 per machine you're going to be running on. Now, oddly enough, there's also a version for Android, so you can run your iOS screen on your Android device. But the utility of that one, I'm not seeing it, to be honest. But there's got to be a use case for it. I just don't have it right now. So if you are interested in capturing your iOS device, especially if you're running a PC, be sure to check out Reflector. Great little product. Hope you enjoyed that. See you later. Bye.